Hi, I'm Lena Rao. Welcome to our year-end cap here at CrunchWeek. I'm joined by TechCrunch TV reporter Colleen Taylor, TechCrunch co-editor Alexia Soutsis, and instead of actually capturing these past week's stories, we're going to be doing a year-end review of some of the hottest stories over the past year.
Crunch year.
Crunch year.
Crunch year instead of Crunch Week?
Yes.
No, I'm just kidding. It's still Crunch
year.
Week.
We have a couple drinks to celebrate this year end and to welcome the 2013 year. I think, of course, one of the big stories for this year was Facebook. I mean, just everything was about Facebook. It was the Instagram billion-dollar acquisition. It was the IPO. It was some of the more recent moves that have been made from the social network. So, what do you guys think? What was what was sort of the peak? What was the low point for Facebook?
Well, I definitely think this was the peak. This year was the peak for social. Like we had at some point before the Facebook IPO, we had Google Plus competing head to head with Facebook. Everyone's focus was on these consumer social startups like Instagram, like Twitter. Everyone wanted to get into this space. I've seen about 1,000 photo sharing apps.
Which you just wrote an awesome post on this past week about photo sharing and what's happening with that sort of thing. I mean, I also think that the public markets have brought in a new element for like development and now what we expect from the company itself. And I think that's changed the way we look at Facebook and also the way that the public and investors look at Facebook. They have to answer to their shareholders and they're making moves because of that. What do you think, Colleen?
I mean, there were just so many things about the Facebook story this year, and also just even from like a tabloidy, gossipy perspective. I mean, everyone wanted to know about Zuck. Everyone wanted to know about his
He got married
hoodie.
this year.
He got married. That ended up being...
The social network just unleashed this tidal wave of like normal mainstream interest in these extremely intelligent founders that managed to build billions of dollars worth of value from code.
Yeah,
I mean, it's sort of miraculous. If you, who would you rather have as a role model, Kim Kardashian or someone who's smart enough to build a platform that 1 billion people are at least registered on, if not used daily?
I think more than anything, like Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook and the social network movie had probably no small part in it. But even if the Facebook IPO and the Facebook, the stock hasn't done as well as people expected, and in a lot of ways, some people, are painting it as a bad year for Facebook in certain ways. But I think no matter what, the takeaway in the years to come are going to be the millions of young people who are inspired by Mark Zuckerberg and that story and how rich he's gotten and how successful he is. I mean, the man's 28, 29? It's insane. It's
and we may
huge.
see a lot more people entering the tech field and wanting to be a part of startups because of this effect, which is a lasting sort of experience, and I think very important to everything that we cover.
Yeah. So I think, big year for Facebook, big year for Mark Zuckerberg. I mean, people couldn't get enough news about Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah,
I mean, from our views on the stories that we write about that, it's just insane.
And then the Instagram element, this huge deal for a small startup that had no revenue at that time, negative revenue, I guess if we could say that. But I think that also kind of brought to light the power of the consumer and like why did Facebook buy this company for so much?
It had a monopoly over something as simple as photo sharing on the telephone. And I just got pitched for another photo sharing app, and so this photo sharing thing is honestly what humans want to spend most of their time doing when they're not focused on work or focused on reading a book or focused on something that's text-based activity. It's almost like watching TV, right? How many hours of TV do people watch a day versus on Facebook? It's our natural inclination to want to look at other images of humans. And so if you've got these tiny little screens and you've got in those screens the abilities to have like an endless supply of photos, and you're the platform on the screens, because Facebook wasn't. Facebook had a terrible adjustment to mobile. It really struggled. you've got a monopoly.
Right, so it's about mobile. I mean, I think what we're going to see in 2013 is just mobile is just going to grow even more. I mean, and I think what Facebook was trying to do with that is just make a huge bet on mobile.
And also, when we talk about 2012, though, so tons of Facebook, but then also in terms of personalities. I mean, what a year for Marissa Mayer.
Yeah.
Huge. I think that when it was announced that she was going to be the new CEO of Yahoo, it was one of those stories that as soon as it happens, you say, of course. But I don't think anybody really, she wasn't on any short lists of all of us chattering classes saying who's going to be the next CEO of Yahoo. But
it was a brilliant move, I think, by the board and what they were trying to do, which is bring more innovation, disruption, try to figure out what Yahoo is, and I think they're sort of slowly making their steps. But I think in 2013 we're going to see a lot more of what their plan is to become, more dominant, I guess, in the internet space.
Well, I think the types of people who work in this industry, or the general type of person who works in this industry, as more of the mainstream's waking up to how you can find fame and fortune in the tech industry, the type of person who works within this ecosystem is slowly evolving. So it's no longer just like young, Ivy League educated or highly educated white dudes who are 24 and don't want to be in college anymore. It is someone like Marissa Mayer who got a high degree in CS, who sort of worked her way up through the VP ranks. There are more women. There are more people who are minorities. There are older people. The demographic is changing for the kind of person that wants to be in tech, and I think it's a really great thing. And I think just like might be out of left field, but just like Barack Obama being president, Marissa Mayer, a young woman who looks like an angel, quite possibly, a young, angelic woman who's hyper smart, being a CEO of this sort of old lumbering company, it's jarring to the point where it's fresh again, and people are interested in Yahoo again.
Right, and not to mention, I mean, she was pregnant, she had a baby, she went on maternity leave in between all of that. I mean, she's a real person, and I think that there's something very human about, like, even though she's this smart, very, very highly intellectual, very successful before she even came to Yahoo because she was an early employee of Google, very successful woman, but she's a human, and she, is a mother and a wife, and I think it's really great to kind of see, more women and more role models like that.
Yeah, but historically, Yahoo has had some pretty cool, everybody was all about Carol Bartz when she first came on at
Right.
Yahoo. Yahoo's a difficult company to turn around. People haven't been able to do it yet. I mean, if anyone can do it, I think Marissa can, but that'll be exciting to watch, I think, next year.
Yeah, I think there'll be a lot of interesting acquisitions. I think that's what we're hearing, is that there'll be some more interesting acquisitions and certainly some interesting product directions as well. So, but I think another huge story and something that we can look to 2013 is the enterprise and consumer versus enterprise, of course. But Yammer was acquired. Yammer actually is in this building that we're in right now.
The enterprise Instagram.
Yeah, Yammer was acquired by Microsoft for $1.2 billion, right? I think
So
it was
yeah,
on
the enterprise
maternity
And
leave when
that
this happened.
$1.2 billion stayed at $1.2 billion and
Right,
didn't
as opposed to
degrade
Instagram and
to
Facebook.
$735 million.
But that's a huge exit for Yammer. But we're also seeing this rise in enterprise startups, and certainly a rise in investor response to enterprise. What do you think about that, Colleen?
Well, maybe it's like a Greek tragedy or something, but there's no winner without a loser, because at the same time, when you say the rise of the enterprise, it's also just in contrast to a lot of failures on the consumer level. I think a lot of stories, when people have a takeaway and look back at 2012, they'll think that Facebook stock was disappointing. Zynga, extremely disappointing, at least in public markets in a lot of ways. And so a lot of these big bets that were on consumer things haven't panned out so well, at least so far, but enterprise makes money.
Well, it's the influence of the public markets. It's really easy to be like the emperor's new clothes. Like, look, we're social, we're valuable. But once you've got the public markets saying that the emperor has no clothes, then there's no. Then the valuation is the valuation. If Facebook's dropping.
But you see Workday that had a very successful public offering in the midst of all of kind of the hoopla of what was happening to Facebook and Groupon and Zynga and all these other consumer-focused public companies. So, those signs point to the fact that some of the enterprise companies that are eyed for, a potential public offering next year or 2014, maybe Box or some of these other enterprise companies could be looking at a
more favorable environment. Or Palo Alto Network.
Yeah, Palo Alto Network is another great example of an enterprise company that did well in the public market. So I think we're going to see 2013 may be the year of the enterprise.
Absolutely. It's
Instead
absolutely
of
the year of
Facebook.
the enterprise. I mean, this was the year of Facebook.
Yeah.
And maybe it's inherent in consumer versus social that a consumer is a lot of hype. It isn't really necessarily revenue driven. It's more emotional. It's sexier because people aren't really looking at it with a balance sheet. But enterprise is sexy because people are looking at it with a balance sheet and seeing meaningful revenues in an actual business model. Whereas Facebook, every day we get news stories of its adjustments.
Right.
I mean, it honestly is like a Greek tragedy. We're seeing Facebook trying to build a business for itself in tech news headlines. Facebook tries to advertise on Instagram. No, it doesn't. Yes, it does.
Well, to sort of bring this full circle, I want to talk a little bit and highlight the fact that we have also come at TechCrunch in a new year. This year has been definitely a transformation for us, and we're better than ever, and I feel like we're really excited with some of the new faces like Colleen.
I am
that we
a
have
new
here.
face. How long? You guys have been around for a while at TechCrunch, so you've seen a lot.
I blocked it out. I blocked a lot of it out.
Almost 4
Today I
years
might
for
block
me.
it out.
Yeah.
also,
Several
but-
years.
Yeah.
How
2.5
was 2012
years.
in that scheme of TechCrunch years?
Well, I definitely ended my year at TechCrunch very differently from what I began it as, and it's scaled a lot. So I think in the beginning we had 10 writers, 2 or 3 freelance regulars, but 8 solid full-time writers, and now we have 20 writers, another 30 writers, 30 total, 20 full-time. It's scaled. There's a lot more of a system happening. It's, as I learned today, we're much more of a collaborative thing because everyone's still trying to figure out what their voice is, which I find amazing. Of course, we miss Michael very much.
Yes, we do.
I owe him.
But he's back, sort of.
So he's back,
Yeah,
yes.
he's back, sort of.
He's back. I mean, he wrote
I mean, he's not. He's still, of course, at Crunch Fund, but he's writing for us now, which is awesome. And
he's on stage at Disrupt.
And he's on
which
stage
is
at
amazing.
Disrupt.
True.
He
Yeah.
did an amazing interview with Mark Zuckerberg at Disrupt. But I think we're really excited about 2013. I think that we're starting off with this amazing team that Alexia and Eric Eldon, our other co-editor, have assembled over the past 8 or 9 months, and I think we have a lot to look forward to.
Well, Michael wrote in a blog post he published in 2009 that if a tech blog doesn't really need to raise funding or doesn't really need to answer to investors, and this is what I consider our relationship with AOL like I consider AOL as sort of like an occupying country in tech, or AOL is like Germany and TechCrunch is like Austria. But if you don't have to have a relationship with VCs, if you don't have to go get funding and you've already got the resources, then you really can accumulate the kind of talented people who want to work in a non-biased but still like encouraging environment. And so I see TechCrunch as a place with a lot more diversity of talent, a lot more opinions, simply because we have more people. And I think one of the greatest victories of this year was bringing back Arrington, bringing back MG, trying to get some of the old gang back together, because you've got this new talent and then you've got the people who built the city, and that is going to be even more powerful in 2013.
Well, that's a great way to end and a great way to start the new year. And we hope you join us for the next year of Crunch Weeks. And thank you so much for reading.
Cheers.